Okay, this is chapter D4 on histograms. We'll go through the bits and bobs you have to do, and then you should be able to do all the questions on D4. There are 4 exercises in general. Okay, so there's a few differences for the histograms. There's no gaps between the bars, whereas there could be, or there has to be in bar charts. Also, the bar charts, the bar width has to be the same, and it doesn't have to be in histograms, and the area of the bar is proportional to the frequency. So for GCSE, the area of the bar is the frequency. When you do S1, which is at A level, it can change if you have a proportional constant. But for your purposes, it's the area of the bar is the frequency of the histogram. So we use, when you're drawing this, you use frequency density, and the frequency density is the frequency divided by the class width, which is the width of the class. We'll have a look at what I mean by this in a minute at the next slide. Okay, so you get a group frequency. As you can see, these are not all the same size. These have all got a distance of 5. This is 10, this is 30. And then they have frequencies. So when you draw your diagram, you will actually plot this between 20 and 30, the frequency density, which in this case is 55 divided by how wide that is, which is 5, which is 11. You don't need me to do the division. That's fairly straightforward. And then you plot these values. Now, as you can see, these two have close frequency, but because this bar width is not the same width as this, they're valued different, are quite different on the frequency density. So it just gives a bit more of an accurate representation of how packed, how spread out the data is. And the bigger the frequency density, the more closely packed the data is, the more results of that type you have. So here we have frequency density against time, and then you just plot these these values, and it gives you something like that, which is fairly straightforward. Now there's things you can do with this histogram, because you very often don't actually get asked to draw a histogram. You get asked to do something with histogram by filling bits that are missing and stuff like that, or taking data from it. So if we want to find the number between 36 and 45, we just have to find the area that represents it. So in this case, this is 36, this is 45, and so we have the area of this bar and the area of this half bar or part bar, and the area of this part bar as well. So basically, you know the height and you know the width, and so you can work out the frequency density. So in this case, this width is 4, this height is 13.6. For the rectangle 2, this height is 3.2 and the width is 5, and so we add the two students together, which would be 70 students, 70.4, that you round to the nearest value. Now in your exam, I'm almost certain that this figure won't come out as a decimal, it'll come out as a whole number, just because you're doing GCSE and not A level. Okay, so the next thing you might be asked to do is, if you're given a group, you might be asked to fill out the bits. Now that could be filling in other parts of the bar, but first of all you have to work out the frequency density. Now it may say that the bar is represented here by 78 people. Now if you know that the bar width is 2, then you know that this area is 78, and so you can find out the frequency density. So in this case we know it's 2, and so this area is 78, so that's 2 times the height is 78, which gives me a frequency density of 39. Now from that, you might have a bar missing here, and you might be asked to fill in the rest of the histogram, or you might be asked to do what we did back here. You might then be asked to work out the number of students over a certain amount or less than a certain amount, but it should be fairly straightforward when you're doing this. Okay, the last thing you have to know is to do with skew. So we have a symmetrical skew, positive skew, and negative skew. Okay, so positive skew is centered more towards the lower values, negative skew is centered more towards the higher values. You just have to look at a shape. When you do A level, you'll work out, there's three different formulas for working out whether it's positive or negative skew. You know, if you look here, this is the example from the book. If you're looking here, so the mode for the girls is between 60 and 70. If you're comparing, the mode for the boys is between 70 and 80. So that implies on average the girls' time was less for the puzzle than the boys for the mode. You can also say that this data is skewed more towards the left, because if you look at a symmetrical, it should form at least some sort of isosceles triangle. This forms more towards it being symmetrical, and so you would say here that the girls is more positively skewed, which also means as a positive skew that it's skewed towards the lower values, again implying on average girls complete the puzzles quicker than boys. You can actually find the median as well by finding the total area, and then the median value is where the area is the same on both sides of the median. So if my median was somewhere here, then the area of the bars before it would be equal to the areas of the bars above it, and that would give you an estimate for the median value. But again, you're not asked to do that for this part of the course. So that's histograms. Have a go at D4. I'll post another video either tomorrow or Wednesday, and then give you some more homework to do by the end of the week. If you haven't given me your homework from last Friday, please do so today.